Our model's not working. We have a lot of people that are connected to economic development, but we don't have the significant outcomes that are outweighing the declines that we have. So consolidation is happening all over the country. In other communities, you see things like the Chamber, the Visitors Bureau, and economic development agencies merge into one. And they call them the organization of one. Essentially, they have very similar missions, and I could see the consolidation as an eventuality. The question is, when will it happen?
A few economic development folks put a few bucks behind it to bring me in, and we worked with Johnstown over the course of maybe 4 to 6 months. The point of that was, how can we improve the quality of life so that this is the kind of a place that the next generation wants to come back to or come to and stay? You know, I'm thrilled if any of that still has some legs or if it created some seeds, because in communities that are tradition bound, in communities where some of the same players have been in office or in their positions for a long, long time, change can really take time.
I see the potential for something like Vision 2025 to really do good here, focusing on areas where it needs to focus on. I know they want to have their little cosmetic improvements. I think the time and energy could be focused better on actually working on some of the real problems, working on abandoned buildings that are rusting in Johnstown, getting rid of some of them, make the area more attractive to potential manufacturers or businesses that may want to come into the area.
And I think there are people that are on the bus, and then I think there are people that are in front of the bus, and some people are off on the side somewhere. And you know, my hope is that these efforts continue to magnetize and make a focal point for people's activity to do thoughtful and productive things.
I originally was involved with Vision back in 2014. Joseph Taranto, who was the head of the Shade Tree Commission, he was doing plantings and community cleanups, and I got involved with him during that project. I believed in the initial core concept. What I didn't realize was how they were actually using these cleanups and this feel-good positivity to hide everything they were doing, taking money from government sources. Because when you look at the Vision budget, they have about a $500,000 budget a year. And that's not current, that was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. The Cambria County Commissioners gave them $90,000 3 years ago. The City of Johnstown gave them $20,000. They are heavily dependent and funded on government money. What I do know is the Cambria County Commissioners did allegedly promise to give Vision more money this year because they can't pay their current people.
It's survival. It's survival. So you go from this grant to this grant to this grant, and you lose the sight what you're doing. That I understand, but it's a shame that we have to live under those kinds of conditions.
The political landscape, we've got guys that, you know, they're more interested in the career, they're more interested in the platform, they know how to talk, but never any fresh ideas, never anything that's, hey, this is how we're gonna do things differently to get on a new track. It should be, okay, how do we take it and reverse this situation? How do we grow things? How do we stimulate? And that discussion just isn't had.
So Johnstown doesn't have the luxury of other cities that one organization can work for their own individual purposes. We do have organizations working together, but we need cooperation. My hope and my thought is that as we get more momentum, more organizations are going to jump on board. That's one challenge that presents itself, is that there's a lot of vendettas out there, which is not something that Johnstown has the luxury to have.
That's why sometimes I get frustrated with big Department of Labor initiatives that say you have to work as a region to solve this certain thing, and here's a whole bunch of money to possibly do it. You know, it doesn't matter how big the carrot is. If neighboring jurisdictions aren't willing to trust each other and each put something in to get something out, those kinds of initiatives, you know, often don't work.
Because what has Vision actually done in the past 10 years? Originally it was Vision 2015, then it was Vision 2020, now it's Vision 2025. Is it going to be Vision 2030? Are we just going to keep pushing it back? They don't do anything. What are they producing?
Our economy in this area is based on grants and poverty. The worse you do, the poorer you are, the more money that comes in. So there's really no incentive to fix the problems. Basically, they just feed off of the money coming in from the problems.
What I think a lot of elected officials and even appointed city or jurisdictional staff forget, as soon as they get elected, we tend to forget how actual people really behave. And that's when we start to lose our relevancy. That's when people start to tune out, because you're not talking to me now about how I live. You're talking about how you get reelected. And that's a largely different thing.
I think the whole area was built off of a corruption base. where everybody connected gets a piece of something because there's not enough to go around. So they make sure it gets to their people, and the people ahead of them protect because they're all protecting one another, so they can keep what little is left in the area.
So many young professionals organizations across the country would say often the first effort, like it opens the door, but it doesn't create the change. It is often the second effort or the third effort where, the gates spring open.
But somebody has to step up and say that this is a focus that's beyond our initial silos of things.
How the status quo isn't working out anymore.
You have these two local businessmen who are controlling different people in government. They use their businesses as basically an open door to get contacts and people and money.
If I can't trust you and you can't trust me, that's a non-starter.
Why would a nonprofit head force government officials to sign a non-disclosure agreement?
Unfortunately, there still are those big fish in a small pond, and they don't care if the water dries up or not.